the soldiers of the 47th Brigade embarked on a combat mission. Before reaching their drop-off point, they spotted a Russian armored personnel carrier with soldiers aboard. At the sight of the Bradley, Russians, knowing what awaited them, jumped off the vehicle in horror. It seemed to be this armored personnel carrier's final infantry delivery. The APC caught Bradley's sight. It tried to escape, but it was too late, and Bradley opened fire. Watch as Bradley tears through the Russian APC like a tin can. The engine compartment and fuel tank caught fire, and the APC is immobilized. Bradley launches a TOW missile and hits the target precisely. The APC is destroyed. Ukrainian soldiers don't call it the king of the battlefield for no reason. You all have seen this viral video where a Bradley IFV destroys a T-90M tank. Let's break down and analyze this video. Bradley rolls out onto the battlefield to support the infantry, but then something unexpected happens. A T-90M appears out of nowhere. Sergei, the commander and gunner of the Bradley, says his biggest fear was facing a tank head-on. His fear got real. Before reaching the position, the American infantry fighting vehicle encounters a tank face-to-face, only 500 feet separating the Bradley from Russia's newest tank, the T-90M Proriv. It was a surprise for the T-90 as well, but the Bradley still shouldn't be a problem. The battle begins. What will Bradley, designed to support infantry, oppose to the most lethal Russian tank? Even if you've seen the outcome of this video, today we'll tell you what Bradley is and why it's so invaluable for Ukraine. The M2 Bradley is designed for transporting infantry and providing fire support. It features a combination of mobility, firepower, and protection. The M2 variant is equipped with a 25mm cannon and a TOW missile launcher, allowing it to engage both armored and soft targets effectively. The M2 Bradley was introduced in the United States in the 1980s as a response to Soviet BMP armored personnel carriers. Over the past 30 years on the battlefield, a key role has been played by Bradleys, which can transport infantry, including drone and javelin operators. They can swiftly embark, take positions, and destroy tanks, which have taken a back seat as they are more specialized and less mobile vehicles. This can be compared to the evolution of phones over the last 30 years. They used to only make calls, but now they are full-fledged computers in your pocket that can take photos and videos, send messages, access the internet. The Bradley is like a smartphone on today's battlefield. Bradley's versatility has been proven in Operation Desert Storm in Iraq and Afghanistan, where the Bradley has become the primary combat vehicle on the battlefield. These and other operations underscored the effectiveness and importance of the M2 Bradley in modern combat scenarios, as well as its ability to adapt to various types of combat conditions and tasks, as is the case now in Ukraine. Due to Bradley's extensive capabilities, it can be used to destroy armored targets, as seen in this video. It is also interesting that it can engage aerial targets. In some modifications and variants, it is equipped with specialized air defense systems, or, as it's got obvious in Ukraine, and being the main purpose of the Bradley, it can simply safely carry soldiers who have specialized weapons against flying targets, armored vehicles, tanks, and so on. Often when positions are stormed, after infantry deployment, it supports them with its fire, suppressing the enemy in open areas, acting as a protective barrier when fire is conducted. It has also proven itself well when running over mines. Although it sometimes turns into scrap metal, fighters remain safe, as you can see in this video. As we discussed earlier, the Bradley was to some extent developed in response to the Russian BMP, which has a couple of insignificant advantages. It's the ability of the BMP to transport more infantry. It can accommodate up to 10 people, unlike the Bradley, which can only carry up to 6 soldiers. Additionally, as it can often be seen, about 10 more people can ride on top of the vehicle. But this is not an advantage. Soldiers prefer to ride on top because there is always a chance of hitting a mine. If this happens, the vehicle turns into a pile of metal with fatal consequences for those inside. The BMP is less armored. Because of this, it is more maneuverable, lighter, faster, and can also float. These are the advantages that can barely be considered as advantages. In modern realities, the BMP may not even deliver the troops to positions because it can be hit by a mine, an FPV drone, as well as anti-tank missiles and even machine guns, which are abundant on the battlefield. As you know, the Soviet Union did not consider human resources, preferring quantity over quality. Therefore, the BMP-2 is the most popular armored personnel carrier among the Russians, as many of them were produced. Since the Ukrainian army also has a lot of Soviet equipment, including the BMP-2, Ukrainians prefer to go on combat missions on Bradleys, as they make it possible to keep and save as many soldiers as possible. When going on a combat mission, driving in Bradley, Ukrainians understand that the chances of survival and successful operation are much higher than in the BMP. The Bradley has a more impressive range of weapons for each task. It has an M242 Bushmaster cannon capable of penetrating armor up to 40 millimeters thick. Check out this video. Take a look at how effortlessly Bradley slices through the BMP's armor. The Bradley's 25 millimeter projectiles penetrate the armor of the armored personnel carrier without any issues. The BMP smokes. It's over for it. See this 3D representation of how lethal the Bradley's projectiles are. The armor plates of the BMP-2 are being cut through like butter by the Bradley's bullets, acting as hot knives. It also has TOW anti-tank missiles, which can engage both ground and air targets. The helicopter in this video was shot down by a TOW missile. The BMP's armament of a 30 millimeter automatic cannon is certainly not capable of this. It has an ATGM as well, but it's outdated and is nowhere near the TOW in terms of technology. The Bradley can sometimes withstand even tank shots. It has proven itself excellently in the Ukrainian battlefield, both in the steppes and swamps. It is less mobile than the BMP, but more mobile than a tank. Overall, the M2 Bradley can successfully counter most Russian APCs and even tanks, thanks to its firepower, protection, and mobility. However, each specific situation requires consideration of various factors, such as tactics, terrain features, and strategic goals. Let's jump back to the battlefield to see the newest iteration of the Russian APC. In these shots, you can see how a Russian vehicle was abandoned due to a failed assault. Ukrainian defense forces launch a drone into the air which hits its target precisely, taking out this machine. That scrap metal will never move again. You see another Russian newest vehicle coming in for support, but Ukrainian operators spot it in time. The drone hits the compartment with the troops precisely. After that, the terrified troops abandon the vehicle, leaving it on the battlefield. Ukrainians try to destroy it by hitting the frontal armor, but their attempts are not successful. As you can see, the machine is immobilized, but not destroyed. The third and final drone finishes what was started by hitting the ammunition supply precisely. Watch how it explodes, leaving behind only scorched earth. Now let's return to our story. Bradley encounters the most modern Russian tank, the T-90M, just 500 feet between them. As Bradley's gunner said, he feared most to see the tank in his sights, but there's no time to fear, and Bradley opens fire. The gunner knew he wouldn't likely penetrate the tank's front armor, so he tried to aim for the tank's targeting systems. Since the turret rotation mechanism is relatively close to the sighting systems, Bradley managed to disable the turret's rotation mechanism, causing it to spin uncontrollably. Deprived of the ability to monitor the battlefield and left without a gun, the praised super tank is rendered inoperable and becomes a sweet target for drone operators, who soon deliver the final blow. The battle is over. Sergei, the commander, confessed that besides training, he relied on knowledge gained from playing computer games, and it worked. He mentioned returning from recent military training in Germany. This was his first battle, and he faced such a tough opponent right away. His assistant, the driver mechanic, previously drove a regular BMP and found it vulnerable, saying that it can be pierced with a regular rifle like a tin can, unlike the Bradley, where you only feel the impact and jolts of explosions. Overall, soldiers are very pleased with the Bradley and are more than happy that they do not go on combat missions in a BMP. Soldiers also noted that one of the drawbacks is that the Bradley is relatively hard to maintain in cold winter conditions. Sergei's only wish after defeating the tank was a leave to finally marry his girlfriend. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. See you in the next episode.